action, we have seen the dollar strengthening and it has appreciated considerably against most of the segment is seeing fresh selling pressure, particularly so in the US equity futures. And now, as the US equity markets are going to open, we will have to consider the price action which has defined the momentum so far and how it is likely to move or shape up the things moving forward. So let us now. And here I have added the Donchian channel 48 and Donchian channel 24 to see what's the range for last 2 hours and 4 hours. We have these SMA 12 and SMA 24 in place to consider the average price over last 1 hour and 2 hours respectively. Now, if we have to consider these price moves in today's session, the range has been a little bit more compared to yesterday, but it is not very different from what we have observed for last couple of sessions. Again, here as you can notice, the Euro USD failed to climb past this immediate resistance zone, and now slowly and steadily it appears to be approaching back toward the support area. So as I had talked in yesterday's session also, and for next couple of hours, watch out the immediate swing low, the price zone around 1.06, and if it doesn't decline too much on the lower side, if it holds well, closer to the support zone, then I think we do have the chance of going ahead with the new trade and trying to again capitalize on the possible turnaround which we can expect closer to the swing low area and the support therein. And if it doesn't decline too much, support therein is likely to provide some momentum on the lower side. And as I said in my introductory remark also about the euro, the range has been defined for last couple of sessions, and today also we are seeing the price move within that range only. So let's see how things shape up. Now, if we have to take the trade in next couple of hours or even you can say minutes, then of course we have to see if the Euro USD is having the bullish momentum or the bearish momentum in the larger scheme of things, and whether its momentum is stronger or weaker compared to other major currencies against the US dollar. So in that context, we will have to do the correlational analysis. We will have to compare the major currencies like AUD, GBP, NZD, CHF, CAD, and of course not to forget the JPY to see how things are shaping up and which currency has the best momentum either on the bullish side or on the bearish side, and which one is lagging, and how we can position our trades in context of these relative strength and weaknesses of these currencies against the dollar. So here, as I said, Euro USD is having a consolidation phase with slight bias for the day being on the bearish side, but it is not overtly bearish. And as it is approaching the support area closer to 1.06, of course we will have to watch out for the price moves on the lower side. Now let's do the comparative analysis and start comparing these major to what compared to the decline which we are seeing in the Euro USD. So on that count, as well as if we simply look at the timeline of this decline, this immediate swing low has also come in quite late. And with these factors, we can safely say that AUD is a lot more bearish against the dollar compared to the euro. So in this comparison between these two currencies, the AUD is bearish, whereas you can say Euro USD is slightly less bearish. And as we have to compare between these two major currencies, and more or less the trajectory is also similar, whereas Euro USD is slightly lower. It is also leading in terms of the magnitude. So of these four currencies which we have seen so far, the NZD is the most bearish one. Simply if we consider the magnitude of its decline, it is more than 1 percentage point. and that is more than the decline which we are observing for the GBP as well as for the AUD, and also Euro. Not to forget Euro. Euro is declining a lot less compared to these other currencies. So in that context, the SGD happens to be the most bearish one, whereas we can say Euro is also bearish, but not to this extent. Now, if we have to look for the where things simply go sideways in that scenario, we will be losing money, not gaining anything out of the trade. So the risk reward ratio is not that favorable. That is the one thing I think we will have to keep in mind after this substantial decline, and there is no reason to add and USD CHF and afterwards USD JPY. For CAD, we will have to invert the chart pattern, and now if we consider its move from the day's low to the day's high, it is around half a percentage point, similar to what we saw in case of the euro, and it seems to be also following the timeline of the rise of the GBP and the AUD and NZD. So it has to be placed ahead of the euro in terms of its bearishness against the dollar, but it is not that bearish in terms of the magnitude, so it will have to be placed behind the NZD, AUD, and the GBP. So it has to be placed ahead of the euro, but it has to be placed behind the other major currencies which we have seen so far. So we will have to take this trade with a lot more care. I think for any buy trade to be taken in these currencies, the euro is a better placed currency against the dollar. And if you are going to go with the flow and look for the USD chart, the USD has also gained quite well if we look at its price moves in today's session. Earlier in the day, the USD was in decline with CHF gaining ground, but then came this consolidation phase, and after that, the thing seems to have reversed. And here, then has to be placed in between these other currencies. It is less so. It is less bearish compared to the GBP, AUD, and the NZD, but it is more bearish compared to the CAD and the Euro. Let's see the developments for USD JPY. Now, looking at the USD JPY's chart pattern, earlier in the day, it corrected after making this high. It almost went into a decline of 100 pips, not exactly 100 pips, but closer to that. And then in this second half, it has reversed all the earlier losses, and now it is sitting at very close, or even it has gone on to make the fresh day's high. So that is impressive feat for the USD JPY. This data release itself pushed it almost 60 pips higher, and it is now being able to hold on to most of these gains. So in this context, of course, we have to keep looking for the buying opportunity. But here, I think it is not that bearish. The JPY is not as much bearish as we saw in case of NZD. It was mostly going sideways prior to the economic release, and after that release, we saw this sharp move. But it has given up some of those gains. It is struggling bearish compared to the other major currencies which we have seen, like the USD CHF, CAD. Even in USD CAD, the momentum is quite strong. In case of USD JPY, it had gone on to make this low, and after that, this reversal is taking place. So it is losses are less against the dollar. So we have to place the JPY ahead of the CAD. So here we have got these comparative analysis done now, and the ranking so far gives highest weightage for any continuation of the trade to be taken in today's session to the NZD. We have the NZD with the best bearish momentum, and if we have to look for contra trend trades, then the euro has to be the first choice, as euro is the least bearish of these major currencies against the dollar. So when the momentum is bearish, and if we have to trade in continuation of that, we will have to, of course, do the relative analysis and see how things are shaping up. As things stand, with this immediate decline in place, we will have to be cautious while going for the any kind of buy trades. But if we see consolidation happening, and if the Dow Jones Industrial Average doesn't really decline much below the 33,000 level in next couple of hours, then the Dow going for the buy trade. Now, if we have to compare the major equity indices for the US, we have to of course compare all these three equity indices: the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and the Dow. Dow is also having a similar trajectory. Nasdaq is not really much different. Now, the one factor which might differentiate these two is the magnitude of decline. For the S&P 500, the magnitude of decline is little over 1 percentage point. Let's consider what's the story for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has also declined little over 1 percentage point, so there is not much of a difference between the two. Let's consider the Nasdaq. For Nasdaq, the decline from the highest point to the current point is also the most bearish momentum. The bearishness is prevalent in the Nasdaq.